I'm really away. Okay. How's it going, Mike?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Got some more awesome comics this week, including...
We had some great comics this week.
Yeah. I mean, we got back into King in Black, so...
Yeah, and I've said it time and time again, but I will repeat myself one more time. I wasn't a huge Venom fan coming into this. Donny Cates just killed everyone I loved, and so I was about okay, this will be the event that kind of cleanses my palate, and then I'll get into some really event I love. But I have adored King in Black, including this week's issue.
Yeah, so we've been in the middle of King in Black since it started, at the beginning of the month. But now this is really King in Black number 2. We've had a bunch of tie-ins for the past couple of weeks, so it was exciting to get back into the main story here, and it is so good. I mean, you just gave sort of a blanket statement, but what do you think about this issue?
I really liked it. I think what's cool about events is when you have all the cast of characters, but then you keep it personal to, someone or a team. And you had some great stuff of Venom, great stuff of Spider-Man, who you don't normally see as frazzled as he was in this issue, which is kind of cool to see. I mean, because they don't go to that well all that often. Like, he could be battling, Galactus and be making quips.
Right.
And some great stuff of Reed Richards. So yeah, it's like a master class, and obviously there's things like Civil War and Secret Invasion, which are great, but if you're gonna take a little bit more of what I would say, a character, well, I guess those ones, the log line is so simple, right? Like, Skrulls have invaded the Earth, or hero versus hero. Like, those were done really well, and I think this is almost like a master class in how to do that today. Where these events tend to be more focused on, little parts of everyone joining in. So it's like, this is a Venom story, but then it's so big that everyone from the Marvel Universe pitches in, where or even Empire, where it's really like a Fantastic Four
right
kind of story, but everyone else is pitching in. And I really liked this. I liked King of Black 2. It's my pick of the week, which is saying something for a number 2 in an event book. Usually that's more like just, hey, we set this up and all these titles are going to tie into it, so we're just going to twiddle our thumbs until it happens. But no, it was great.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with everything you just said. Look, I tried to be different. I tried to branch out a little bit. I almost did. I almost had a different pick of the week, but this is obviously my pick of the week. I couldn't stray away from it. Yeah, like you said, just all those other character moments that we got. I think Donny Cates has been doing a really great job of handling these other characters. Obviously, he's been writing Venom, so he's been, he's used to handling Eddie Brock. He's been the one, leading the charge with Null. But his handling of Spider-Man, of Reed Richards, of Tony Stark in this it feels so natural. It doesn't feel like a character he hasn't been dealing with. So yeah,
and it still stays current to what's going on in their own books. It's not like, here's my take on this character and whatever's happening on their own. Like, they reference stuff that's actually going on in the Marvel Universe, which makes it feel like an event. There's been some recent events where I think it's probably as a result of there's just for so many of them that it kind of felt like the individual books were doing their own thing, and there's this other event that just happens, and then you have Steve Rogers doing this in this book and this in that book. And, it's not so much that the character's in different place, but just acting completely different. And I felt like, as we're reading some of these other books, it still felt like Peter Parker was acting like Peter Parker would in this moment at this time. And same thing with the Fantastic Four. So.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. And you can still get Tony Stark, trying to be the big problem solver, but at the same time, he seems so defeated, and everything up to this issue has just created this feeling of hopelessness. Like everything they throw at Null just gets, I mean, I think we can talk about issue number 1 at this point, right? He literally ripped the Sentry in half, like without any effort. So, I mean, everything going up to this has felt, so hopeless. But then you're suddenly just reminded of how big the Marvel universe is, because you look at this and you're like, okay, well, all the heroes, I mean, just look at the cover. Like all the heroes have been defeated already, right? But then you get back into this base of operations, and there's still just so many other heroes just coming up one after the other, and they're assembling this crazy team that I can't wait to see in action. So yeah, you already have this huge scope where, I mean, literally Earth is engulfed in symbiote, and now it's just getting bigger and bigger. So I love that this crossover can do that.
And this book has an ending like most event books do, where it has like a shocking ending, but I don't think any of us think that this is, like this ending is going to might stick for a year, might stick for 2 issues. I don't know. But, none of us think like this is going to, this is the last we see of whatever.
Right.
But they made it stick because the emotion the characters had with it. It wasn't so much that, oh no, oh wow, I can't believe this happened. Because whatever, it's a comic book. But it mattered because it mattered to them.
Yeah, and that's another great thing. Like I said, Donny Cates is handling the characters so well. You're really getting that emotion. You're getting, I mean, this was another one. I felt like I started it and then it was done. It was I blew through it so quickly. But at the same time, you still feel like it does take the time to give you that emotion from each character and really get yourself, in their shoes and see what they're dealing with. So yeah, it has that gigantic scope. But at the same time, you can really connect to each character, which is just so great. One thing that really puts this in perspective is, there's a big issue going on when T'Challa is potentially breaking out Infinity Stones. So that's all I'll say about that. So yeah, obviously this is a really, really, really big cataclysmic event in the Marvel universe. So yeah, I mean, if you're not reading this yet, I mean, pick it up, because I've been saying since we started doing this, Civil War has been my favorite crossover event and favorite story in Marvel Comics history. This could be, up there by the time it's over. We'll see. We're only 2 issues in. We'll see how it plays out, but I wouldn't be shocked if this ends up being my favorite.
I just don't know that I can, just because I love the. I mean, there's another book we read that kind of takes some Civil War tropes, and we'll talk about that. But I feel like that elevated the Tony Stark Captain America, I don't want to say rivalry, but dichotomy to a whole other level. That I think this story might be executed better, but it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna be as historically significant.
Yeah, no, it won't mean as much. At least we don't think. We don't know where the story will end up going, but just in terms of what the story actually is, it won't mean as much to the Marvel universe as a whole. But I think you're right. I think it does feel like it's being executed a little bit better. And it's just so much fun to read so far. I can't wait to see where it's going. Also, I want to know, how long do we have to wait to get a King in Black movie? How long, what is that? Where does that fit in down the pipeline?
Well, that's the thing that when you're reading this, because it's you can't, I mean, the way the world currently is, if Venom's at Sony, I don't think you're going to get one, right? I mean, maybe it'd be a lame, Venom and Morbius and whatever, but you're not going to get Cap, and I mean, and the MCU is never going to have Endgame again, right? But
right,
I mean, I'll have a different version of that at some point, but so this is not a story where they're like, oh, this will make a great movie in 3 years, because I don't think it's going to happen. I also don't know that it would translate. There's so much going on that, especially with symbiotes, symbiotes on film, have not really always worked for me. I don't think they worked well in Spider-Man 3. I don't think it worked well in Venom. I mean, they're just so comic book-y. There is a translation between what makes a comic book great and a comic book movie great, and they're not one for one. I mean, that's why you see MCU taking liberties. But I'm glad that it's living here too.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of that is fair, although I will repeat what you say several times, and that's Kevin, in Feige we trust.
Right.
So like if he got his hands on Venom and the symbiotes, I would absolutely expect a great product out of that. So
oh yeah. It's more like I wonder that they just won't even try because
I wouldn't be shocked, and especially with the rights with Sony and everything. But with the introduction of the multiverse at this point, it feels like everything is on the table, so who knows?
Yeah, just when he thought MCU couldn't get bigger. So King of Black storyline continues over here in Spider-Woman number 7. Legacy number 102.
Yeah, this was a really fun tie-in issue. It's hilarious, by the way. It's the funniest pick of the week for sure. Just the issues going back and forth with Hawkeye. Obviously, there's some history there between these two characters, so that was pretty funny. I was also wondering, in what is the biggest fight the heroes have ever seen, where has Carol Danvers been? And here you go. You get some Carol Danvers here. You still don't fully know what she has going on because she's kind of getting pulled in different directions, but it'll be interesting to see what role she plays going forward, because obviously she is one of the Avengers heavy hitters. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. But this was a fun issue. I love Jessica Drew as a character. She's always so interesting. And then this whole thing with the serum that is totally messing up her entire life makes things very interesting. It also seems like she could be a very heavy hitter in this fight going forward, because she seems to have the symbiote's number. So curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I think this one did a nice job of continuing the storyline of Spider-Woman with the serum and what's going on there. Well, meanwhile, this event is happening. And that's my favorite kind of event books. It's like you have a regular story, and it's not like they, I'm not a huge fan of and then they do, King in Black, X-Men, because then it's not really a tie-in, it's just another
right.
Show. But okay, I'm trying to fight this battle, but then this other crazy thing happened. It's such a 2020 way to do it, right? Like, and then something else happened, and so now I'm trying to figure out how to handle both, and sometimes they intersect. I like that, and I thought this was to me, this is probably my biggest surprise of the week in terms of how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I said I was very close to branching out. This was the other one that I almost chose as my pick of the week, so I wasn't branching out too far. Really, really enjoyed this one.
Not far at all. Well, going back to a little bit of what happened in the last event we did.
Yeah, so this was a nice, sort of pull from Ten of Swords. It takes one aspect of there were a bunch of different big things that happened in Ten of Swords, right? There was a huge crossover with I don't even remember how many issues. It felt like we read through about 100 different Ten of Swords issues or tie-ins or whatever you want to call them. But it took one detail, a pretty major detail, but still it stuck to that one aspect of the story and stretched that out into, here's what the fallout of that specific part of the story was. And I thought that was really cool. Some great characters here. I like that it kind of spans throughout the X universe while still focusing on that one plot point. So brings in different teams. So I thought that was a lot of fun. I'm still, coming off King in Black and jumping back to like the X universe and the Ten of Swords and everything. I still would much rather take anything King in Black, but I did enjoy this particular issue.
Yeah, this one, I enjoyed it, and it still has that sort of the X vibe to it. It still has the weird, prose pages and stuff, which isn't bad. I mean, it's done well in this book, but it's nice to kind of take, you're not back to Excalibur when it was in Ten of Swords, was just like basically another chapter in Ten of Swords. I couldn't tell you what the difference between Excalibur and Helion's book was. I mean, they basically just all cover the same ground. And, now you're kind of getting back to, okay, here's this team. They intersect with other teams in the X universe. And then, but now in the aftermath, they found their purpose in the aftermath and they're going to address it. And then, some of the stuff, this, I don't think it's a spoiler to say, it deals with some of the Captain Britain fallout,
right?
Which I thought was part of the hardest part to really understand what's going on in Ten of Swords. But I feel like they really brought it down to a easier to access level. and like, okay, here's the cliff notes, got it. Like I wish I knew that when I was reading Ten Swords. So I really enjoyed this issue. We've been away from the X books for a little bit as we focused on King in Black, and it was nice to get back and see what they're up to.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I also have a few points on this one. One, Rogue and Gambit are two of my favorite characters to read because I feel like their accent comes through in text more than any other characters. It works so perfectly. Like all I hear in my head is their voices from the animated series. And
there's a lot of animated series, like Jubilee's in here, Rogue, Gambit. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I just finished rewatching on Disney Plus again, so it's fresh in my mind.
Did you always skip the theme song?
No, never, absolutely not.
Why is that button there?
Two, we get a small part from Sinister in this, and this was Excalibur's never been my favorite team of mutants or heroes in general. So I was kind of going through the book a little bit, and all of a sudden Sinister pops up and I just like popped awake and was like, yes, I'm in for everything, every panel with Sinister in it. He's becoming him in this like line of comics here. He's been so fantastic, such a great character. And then the other little point I wanted to make was I really want to visit Krakoa now. I kind of planted that seed a while back. We talked about, Marvel and theme parks and stuff like that. Give us Krakoa. I know it's not the big fan favorite. It's not going to be a crowd pleaser, but it lends itself so perfectly. I keep seeing that tiki bar that they go to that I can't think of the name of off the top of my head right now. But it works out so well. It seems like it would be awesome.
Whoops.
That's the alternate cover, I think.
That should be. Have you ever bought one of those Marvel blank covers where it's like design your own? Because that makes sense. There we go. I don't know what's going on there, but John Walker, U.S. agent.
Yeah, it feels like, we've had just one crossover after another, so I don't remember how long ago the first issue in the series was. It feels like it was a long time ago. I'll be honest, this one was not my favorite of the week. This was a strong week for comics. This one didn't really measure up to some of the other issues for me. It's not that it wasn't bad, but I think coming off of the first issue in this series, which was so action-packed and it was really funny and there was just like, one bit after the other, this one was a lot of context, a lot of exposition just thrown at you. So it was good. It was necessary for the story. But if you're picking up a comic to read it for pure entertainment value, this is not going to be the one I would recommend.
Well, I liked the issue, but I really liked how it gave John Walker context.
Mm-hmm.
And it made you, in a world in the real world where, people don't seem to look at things from other points of view. It was nice to see John Walker, who's not known for that,
right?
Really try and bring that idea, home in a way that, I don't know that you would get from a straighter character. He's not seeing the world as black and white. You really see the growth of him, and so I think, I think the issue suffered from pacing problems,
mm-hmm.
but I do like the big picture of the story, and to me that made up for sort of the, I think some of the stuff could have been in issue 1, maybe some issue 3. I feel like this was a little overstuffed, but I like what it was trying to say. So.
Yeah, and I would say if you're a big fan of John Walker and you've read a lot of his comics before, you would probably find this one very interesting. It adds a lot of depth to the character. And like you said, it gives you a lot that you wouldn't expect from this character. But again, if you're just picking up a comic and, even if you just read issue number 1 and you want to, keep that fun rolling, I think this one is kind of going to put the brakes on that a little bit. But again, it's not that it was a bad issue. I think, again, being compared to the other issues we had this week gives it sort of a tough draw. But not my favorite for this week. It did have a pretty good cliffhanger ending, but I'm also not entirely sure what just happened at the end of it. So I am interested to see what happens in the next issue. That's for sure.
Yeah. I kind of feel like this was obviously a COVID book, kind of messed up by that.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of feel bad that it doesn't get its moment, but we do got one. Speaking of a book that got messed up by COVID, we've got Doctor Doom number 10, the end of the series.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed this series, despite the release. I feel like I read one through like 4 of this so long ago, and I think I might have even read that on Marvel Unlimited to begin with. So I read it late, but this series was. I'm a huge fan of Doctor Doom, great character, and I think this series really lets the character shine. It did feel like this issue kind of took everything that was built up previously and was just like that. It was just done. But still, I think just I will be entertained anytime I get to read Doctor Doom being Doctor Doom. And I mean, he was really Doctor Doom in this issue.
Yeah, like genocidal Doctor Doom.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
The one thing that so I'm reading it, I'm enjoying it. I was like, and it says his story will continue in Fantastic Four number 25. And I'm like, wait, we read Fantastic Four 25 like weeks ago. And so, I think I'm sad that sort of it didn't get to dovetail as maybe it was designed.
Right.
Speaking of Infinity Stones and Cosmic Cubes and all those things, that's all in this issue. But it does, it's nice to see Doom be Doom. And not that he can't have a soft spot, that's still him, but be messed up because of the way he's messed up, I think is what makes Doctor Doom Doctor Doom. And you get to see basically a contrast to that in this book, and which only accentuates the doominess of Doctor Doom to begin with.
Yeah, this is some of the doomiest Doom we've ever seen. I mean, he goes full Doom on us in this issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's very shocking. I mean, how, this is not a guy who's just misunderstood. This is whack job Doom.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to spoil it. It's fun. It's a good read, and if you can go back in Marvel Unlimited and check the rest out.
Yeah. By the way, this is the series that gave us the panel with Doom riding up on a bear and saying, "I have arrived." So that's how fun this series is.
And cool cover too. Here you kind of get the whole perspective. But
yeah, absolutely.
So it's the end of the month, which means we get the comics coming out in 2 months or so. They start to reveal all the covers and things like that. So we got some information on some upcoming issues. We'll start with this one.
Yeah. So first, before we dive into this specifically, there's a lot happening for March. I didn't realize that everything that they've announced pretty much is coming out in March. So that's going to be a very busy, exciting month, including a new Beta Ray Bill comic, which, people love Beta Ray Bill. I mean, it's horse Thor, right? Like it's just another version of Thor with Stormbreaker. So now we're, finally getting a Beta Ray Bill series, fighting a nullified Fin Fang Foom here. So that should be interesting. I'm also
a nullified Fin Fang Foom.
So yeah, I mean, Donny Cates himself was specifically like, "Hey, give us a Beta Ray Bill," and then he was playing up to. He knew this announcement was coming, but he was playing up to that, and it's exciting that we're gonna get this character in his own series.
Yeah, I feel like he's been a little underserved lately. Maybe I'm just not reading the right books, but I'm looking forward to this. Meanwhile, over in the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, the thing that I love specifically about this is that cover. I love this style of art. If this is what this series is going to give us, I'm all for it. Silk is also just a great character. We get some more, dive into the Spider-Verse a little bit more. So definitely going to be interesting. I like that we can flesh out this character a little bit more because, we've seen Cindy Moon before, but we can get a lot more of her story here as we give her own series again.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's hard to tell without knowing where it's going, but I liked her. I remember when she was introduced, not that long ago, and so it'd be nice to see. I kind of felt like she came out, did her thing, burned fast, and kind of went away.
Yeah,
so I'm looking forward to seeing where she goes ahead. Now, this isn't in the Marvel universe, but they're making it.
Yeah, the Trials of Ultraman after it was the Rise of Ultraman that came out a few months back. Maybe it was longer ago now. I can't even remember at this point. Everything seems to have blended together. But it was a really big deal when they were announcing that Marvel was making Ultraman comics. It was this sort of pop culture icon. And now, that first series ran its course, and now we are getting more of it. So I'm excited to check this out. I haven't actually gotten to read The Rise of Ultraman yet. As soon as that hits Marvel Unlimited, I will be burning through it in a matter of a couple of hours, I'm sure. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this continue on and, what we can get out of it in the future. Then we also have Demon Days XMen, and this comes from, if you remember a few months back, Marvel announced the inaugural class of the Marvel Stormbreakers, which is like an artist. What's the word I'm looking for? Like they're building up these new artists,
like an emerging artist program. It used to be called. What did it used to be called? They used to have a different word for it, but anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, this one comes from Peach Momoko. Hopefully, I didn't butcher that pronunciation. But the art on this cover is incredible. I'm, again, like the Silk comic, looking forward to seeing more of the art in this series. Also, this is going to follow Wolverine, Psylocke, and Venom, and more characters as well. Of course, as you always get in your great Marvel comics, you get characters from left field all the time. But that combination of characters sounds incredibly interesting. So I am definitely looking forward to this story, but really looking forward to the art we get out of this.
Yeah, me too. It's nice to see something different.
Yeah. And then the most recently announced new series will be Black Knight, Curse of the Ebony Blade, which will be stemming directly out of The King in Black. So I'm definitely interested in this. I actually thought, because that announcement was made, it was like late last night, I thought we would be seeing the Black Knight in this King in Black issue. I get he's going to be playing a role. We know that because of the symbiote Spider-Man we read last week. So I'm very interested to see what role he plays, the Ebony Blade, what role that plays, and then interested to see how his story progresses out of King in Black as well, because Black Knight is another character that hasn't really been in the spotlight in a long time. So interesting to see him coming back up big.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were very vague in what this book is because it probably ties into what's happening in King in Black. So,
right.
It comes across as like, well, it's going to be in the catalog. You gotta say something. But story wise, I think we'll get a little bit more information in the coming weeks because there is a King in Black, Black Knight,
yes,
series. So I'm sure that will all kind of dovetail. But speaking of King in Black.
Yeah, so we also know there will be a few more tie-ins or one-shots. I guess both tie-in one-shots, as well as a shocking final issue, and this will be running until March. So we get 3 to 4 months of this crossover series. That's how this is a big event, and I mean, I'm just excited for more of it now. I want to know what happens in King in Black 3, but I can't imagine if they're saying the final issue is shocking, what has everything leading up to it been? Because I've been shocked left and right. So really excited to see how this plays out over the next few months, and just excited that we get that much of King in Black.
Yeah, I don't know. I almost don't want to look ahead too far because I'm enjoying the King in Black ride, and I don't know what the next event is. We'll find out soon, I'm sure. Maybe Phoenix based, but let's just enjoy this while we got it.
And by the way, some of those one shots that they announced for, the end of King in Black will be a Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, Scream, Wiccan, and Hulkling, which I think is very interesting, given where those characters have wound up after Empire, and then the aforementioned Beta Ray Bill first issue as well. So,
also, one thing I forgot to mention when we talked about King of Black 2, now that whole Namor tie-in makes a little bit more sense.
Yes, right? Yeah, absolutely. Way more context given there.
Yeah.
Now we know how he'll be playing a role.
Next, we got some more Marvel fun in Fortnite. They did their big Galactus event, then they did their Star Wars, the Mandalorian event.
Yep. Now we have these three characters: Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and Taskmaster. Taskmaster looks awesome in this too. That's a great looking character.
He doesn't look nearly as crazy as he is.
We've said before, neither of us play Fortnite, so we can't really speak to this all that much. Although they are great, awesome characters that should be a lot of fun to play with.
Somebody at Disney loves Fortnite.
They also introduced the Wakandan salute emote for your character as well, so you can give it a good Wakanda forever before you run in and
floss.
Yeah.
We got some park news, kind of.
Park
an update of Disney's Hotel New York, The Art of Marvel, which I've actually never stayed at the Hotel New York, but I did eat there, so I walked through it. And they're definitely like trying to combine those two things, where it's, obviously a lot of Marvel takes place in New York, but they're still trying to keep it that classically modern, Art Deco look, but bringing in a lot of Marvel artwork and bringing in a lot of Marvel touches. So you still have a gorgeous chandelier, but now when you look at the chandelier, you realize it's Asgard. Mm-hmm. So, it looks beautiful in every artwork. I can't wait to go. I can't wait for it to open. I can't wait for it to go and stay there. Because obviously Marvel's going to be a big part of the Disney Studios experience moving forward. And, this is something we're just not getting in the United States. We're not getting, at least as of now, a hotel like this, where a high-end hotel where character branding is so prevalent. Galactic Star Cruiser being its own little thing, but I'm excited about this.
Yeah, we've talked about a little bit about how Marvel doesn't quite lend itself as well to theme parks and experiences like that because Marvel is, as they say, the world outside your window, right? So it's just putting you in real world settings. But that's why this project is so great. Like, it is themed to New York, and they shared some looks at like the pool being themed to the subway and stuff like that. So really cool theming to the city of New York, but also adding those Marvel touches like the incredible artwork you saw. And then they mentioned that chandelier being inspired by Manhattan, but also Asgard, and like stuff like that. It's so cool, just like nice touches. And then there's the Skyline bar where you have the view of New York City with Avengers Tower right in the middle of it, right? So like it's the world outside your window, but it's the Marvel version of that. So I think that's so cool, and I would love to see what this hotel looks like when it's finally completed.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Don't know. I mean, it's one of those things. So we are actually counting down the days, less than a month to WandaVision.
Yeah, we're getting there. It feels like there's been so many other things popping up that it's just like every time we go through all of that, the new stuff, the new comics, the new news, and then we end it with we're still counting down the days to WandaVision. So it's starting to really add up, and I'm ready for it to get here now.
And we can't really disclose too much, but we can say that in the week leading up to WandaVision, we should have some content up highlighting our anticipation of it. And we'll do weekly recaps every Friday for, I think it was 6 issues, 6 episodes.
6 issues, that works too. I think that is the plan. So yeah, we'll have our recaps, and whatever else that series brings us, if we have anything bigger to break down, of course, we'll be here to do it.
And unlike previous years, they're not taking next week off from comics. There's lots of books coming out next week. So we will be back, even though we're probably the only LP show that will be maintaining our schedule. We'll be back with issue number 28 to talk about those books and more King of Black tie-ins.
They took enough time off this year, right? So we got a lot of comics to get out there, and I'm excited to see what they bring us.
Cool. Any last words?
No. Again, counting down the days to WandaVision and more King in Black.
Yeah, well, King in Black, you're going to have so much happening at the same time. You're going to have WandaVision, you're going to have King in Black, and your brain's going to just fry.
I'm excited for all of it. I might have to pick up some Red Bull, but I am excited for all of it.
I can't wait. I met with someone. I can say this. I met with someone from the studios talking about 2021, just sort of our end of the year and planning out 2021. And they're like, "What are you most anticipating?" And I look back, and it's funny because a lot of stuff we're anticipating for 2021, we were anticipating for 2020. So it feels a little less like anticipation and more of I'll believe it when I see it. But I had to say WandaVision, even though it's the first thing out of the gate. That is what I'm most looking forward to. Yeah,
I'm with you strictly because it's the first thing out of the gate. Looking forward to everything. So whatever the next thing up is, and I love that once we get WandaVision, we don't have all that long to wait for whatever's next. So
and I love the progression between WandaVision, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man.
Yes,
I love that whole whatever that is. I don't know, sub trilogy, whatever word we call for it. I'm sure Marvel Studios will tell us what to call it, but I'm looking forward to that whole plot.
Speaking of Marvel Studios telling us what to call things, when do we make the transition from MCU to MCM, when it becomes the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse?
Oh, good question. So, that's a good question. Is it the Marvel? Is it MCU only the main one, or is MCU encompassing the multiverses that we're talking about here?
Yeah, are we going to have MCU 616 and MC?
I'm going to be I'm expecting Kevin Feige to be in front of a big whiteboard with a stick, explaining things. He's or maybe they can get Skarsgård to do it for us and be
yes,
here's how the multiverse works. Here's what we're calling things.
That's what we need. After all of this goes crazy and expands, we need a series where it's just different characters. You can have, like you said, Skarsgård. You could have Luis go through and run through everything. I want this.
Luis might be a little fast for me to comprehend. Yeah, I am. I just can't wait. Cannot wait. It's about dang time. Wasp.
And we have one more show this year, so I guess we'll take a look at the year ahead next week.
Yeah.
Did I have to point out this is our Christmas special? I got my decorations behind me.
Oh yeah, I don't because I'm recording from the bedroom because we have, I have nothing Christmas anywhere near me.
Well, hey, King in Black is going on, so Venom is now my favorite Christmas character.
Ho, ho, ho. Also, if you get a chance, go on Marvel Unlimited and read the Marvel Christmas special from a couple years ago. That's something.
Yeah. Panel Picks is going to have some Christmassy fun this week, so keep an eye out for that.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Matt.
Yep. Thank you. Bye, everyone.